In a corner forgotten by time, at the foot of a soft and silent mountain range, there lived a humble farmer named Matthew. He was a man of few words, but hard-working hands and a noble heart. To him, every furrow he carved into the soil was like a prayer written in sweat. Every morning, before touching the earth, he would lift his eyes to the sky and whisper, "Thank you, God, for one more day. Lord, give me strength to plant hope." By his side was Lucia, his wife. Her name seemed like a reflection of her soul, bright, serene, and full of faith. While Matthew worked the field, Lucia quietly wove hope with her prayers, especially on the longest nights when the wind sighed through the trees and the world seemed asleep. Lucia carried a faith that lit their home like a lantern in the dark. When Matthew came back exhausted, she would smile and tell him, "God sees the sweat of the righteous. Nothing is wasted in his eyes." Matthew and Lucia worked without rest on the small piece of land Matthew had inherited from his father. It was modest, but meaningful. There they built their home, grew their food, and dreamed of a better future. Every sunrise found them together, hands buried in soil, planting hope between sweat and fatigue. And even when the harvests weren't abundant, they were enough to live with dignity. But life had a harsh test waiting for them. One day, Matthew's mother fell gravely ill. At first, they thought it was something temporary, something that would pass. But with time, her health declined until she couldn't even get out of bed. The doctors in town were clear. Only an expensive treatment, far from there, could save her. Matthew felt like his world collapsed. He had no savings, no animals to sell, no extra income. Only that small piece of land, the result of years of labor, the only valuable thing he owned. And without thinking twice, Matthew made a decision that split his heart in two. He sold the land that had been the effort of his entire life, the stage of his dreams. When Lucia asked him if he was sure, Matthew answered with a calm voice that hid deeper pain than words could ever carry. Land can be recovered, but a mother cannot. In that moment, Matthew understood that some decisions hurt more than any material loss, but they also reveal the true size of love and the nobility of a soul. His mother recovered, and though relief filled Matthew's chest, an emptiness lived inside him that he couldn't hide. He had saved a life, yes, but in exchange, he lost the land that represented everything he had built with his wife. With the little money he had left, he tried to find new land, but he quickly realized it wasn't enough to buy even a small, fertile plot. Desperate, he began to explore options no one considered, until his steps led him to the far north of the village, where a place stretched out like a forgotten wound. The villagers called it the Land of Shadows. Everyone avoided it with fear. The soil was dry, covered in stones and streaks of salt that made it barren. Even animals wouldn't go near it, and the few trees that remained looked twisted, as if they suffered. The oldest people in town said ancient spirits lived there, punished by the gods, and that whoever dared work that land would be chased by misfortune. When Matthew told people he would spend what little money remained to buy that cursed land, the whole village burst into laughter. They called him crazy, foolish, desperate. "Nothing grows there," they said, laughing. "Matthew the madman. He bought a desert and called it hope." And Don Ramiro, the richest and proudest man in the village, shouted at him in front of everyone, "You sold good land, just to end up with dead land. May God have mercy on you." But Matthew, half stubborn, half faithful, answered calmly, "Then it will be the perfect place to start again. God will provide." And while everyone pointed at him in disbelief, Matthew walked toward that piece of land, ready to challenge destiny with his own hands. That night, when he got home, he told Lucia, "I bought land, but it's the northern one." Lucia didn't panic. She looked at him with tenderness and said, "No land is cursed when it's watered with faith. You work, and I will pray." The next day, before the sun had even risen, Matthew stood in front of his desert. He swung his hoe into the ground with force, but the soil felt like iron. The stones seemed to laugh at his effort. His hands bled. Sweat ran down his forehead. Sometimes the silence of that place felt like it was devouring him. And yet, every strike came with a silent prayer. "Don't leave me, Lord. Let my effort become a seed, even if I never see the harvest." Days became weeks, and the village rumors became constant mockery. Every afternoon, as the sun dropped behind the mountains and dust filled the air, Don Ramiro and other farmers passed by Matthew's plot. They would stop, lean on their tools, and throw sharp words like knives. "Did the miracle bloom yet, Matthew?" Don Ramiro yelled, laughing. "Tell us when the golden thorns grow, so we can all come harvest them." The laughter echoed off the stones, but Matthew never looked up. He kept digging. He kept turning that dead earth with the patience of a man who was speaking to the soil itself. And when the noise finally faded, Matthew would lift his eyes and answer calmly, without bitterness. "I'm not searching for gold, Don Ramiro. I just want to see if land, like a man, can return to life after being abandoned, and if in the middle of a curse, heaven can still bring a blessing." The men would glance at each other, unsure whether to laugh or stay quiet. Then they'd walk away, muttering. But Matthew didn't change. Every day he returned, praying in silence, planting the few seeds he could afford, carrying water in jars from a distant stream. And even though the land remained hard, Matthew felt something deeper was happening, as if the earth was watching him, testing him, waiting to see how far his faith would go. At night, exhausted, he would sit before the field under moonlight. His hands shook sometimes, but his heart stayed firm. Because Matthew knew something. Faith isn't measured by visible results, but by perseverance in the middle of a desert. Meanwhile, Lucia fought her own battle, quietly. Every night, when the wind slipped through the cracks of the house and the moon peeked through the window, she would spread her old prayer blanket on the floor. That blanket, worn by years and tears, she would kneel on it, hands trembling, heart burning with faith, and whisper through sobs, "Almighty God, you who can bring life out of dust, let my husband's effort not be in vain. Give his exhaustion a purpose, and our faith an answer. Do not let the heart of a righteous man wither while waiting." Her words vanished into the night, but it felt like heaven itself was listening. Her tears fell onto the blanket like invisible seeds, as if Lucia was planting hope not in soil, but in something deeper. The soul. One night, Matthew returned earlier than usual. His hands were cracked. His clothes were soaked with sweat and dust. And when he entered, he saw Lucia praying on her knees, with a faith so pure it shook him to his core. He stood quietly, watching, feeling like this woman was stronger than any fertile land on earth. Then he walked over, knelt beside her, and joined her prayer with a broken voice. "Lord, you know my hands do not fear work, but sometimes the heart grows tired. If it is your will that this land stays dry, so be it. But if there is still life hidden under this salt, show us the path to find it. And if not in the soil, then let it bloom inside us." Lucia grabbed his hand firmly, and for a moment they both fell silent. No answers, no signs, No visible miracles, but they felt something, a deep peace, as if an invisible voice was telling them, "Your faith is not being ignored." Months passed. The sun kept beating down on that land. Not a leaf, not a stem, not even a tiny sign of hope. Day after day, Matthew watched his hands grow harder and his spirit grow more fragile. Every morning was a battle between faith and exhaustion, between his heart and the whispers of the village. One night, Matthew came home slowly, eyes empty. He collapsed by the doorway, face covered in dust. Lucia saw him and felt a knot in her soul. Matthew looked up with a tiredness that wasn't just physical, but spiritual. The kind of tiredness that comes when you give everything and still see no fruit. And Matthew finally whispered, "This land has defeated us. I worked every day, begged heaven, gave everything I am, and nothing grows. Maybe they were right. Maybe this land is..." For a moment, the room filled with silence. Lucia stepped closer with the calm of a woman who truly loves. She knelt in front of him, and without saying a word, she placed her hand over his chest, right where his heart beat weakly. Then Lucia spoke with tenderness and strength. "No one is defeated while they still believe. You planted with your hands, yes, but the fruit of your planting doesn't depend on the soil. It depends on heaven." Matthew looked into her eyes, and there he found something even the hardest land couldn't kill: faith. Lucia continued, tears shining in the firelight. "Today you planted with your hands. Tomorrow I will plant with my tears. Because sometimes the water that awakens life doesn't fall from the sky. It falls from the soul." She held him tightly, and for a moment, the weight of failure began to fade. Matthew felt it. Even if the land stayed dry, something was beginning to grow inside them. A silent hope, deep, invisible, but alive. That night, Lucia didn't sleep. She prayed until sunrise, and in the middle of the silence, she had a dream. An old man holding a staff of light told her, "Tell Matthew to strike the rock shaped like a bull in the center of the field. Relief sleeps there." At dawn, she told Matthew. He doubted, but when he saw the faith in his wife's eyes, he took his hoe and went. The sun painted the horizon gold. The air was still dry, but that morning felt different. A strange quiet, as if the earth was waiting. Matthew walked to the center of the field. There stood a large rock, immovable, towering. It had a strange shape, like a bull lying down. It had watched him for months like a silent guardian of his misery. Matthew had tried moving it before. He failed. That stone became the symbol of everything that wasn't working. He stood before it, feeling the weight of months without fruit, the village laughter, the exhaustion. He closed his eyes and whispered, "This is my last chance. In the name of Almighty God, I strike this rock." He gripped the hoe with both hands. He inhaled, and with every bit of strength he had left, strength born more from his soul than his body, he raised the hoe and slammed it down. The world seemed to stop. A deep sound rose from the earth, like an ancient groan. The rock trembled, and in front of his eyes it began to crack. A line of light split through it. Then, crack, it broke in two, and from inside it burst something impossible, a spring of pure water. So bright it looked like liquid diamonds. The water danced as it fell, reflecting the sunlight like thousands of heavenly sparks. It flowed with force, yet gently, spreading over hard, salted ground where only death had lived. Now, life awakened. The cracks softened. The soil drank every drop like it was drinking hope. And within seconds, tiny green shoots began to rise, fragile, but full of promise. Matthew fell to his knees. He couldn't hold back his tears. His hands trembled as he touched that living water. Fresh, real, alive. It was as if the land had never been dead, only waiting to be loved with enough faith. Matthew ran to the village screaming, "Water! Water burst from my land! The desert is alive again!" And that morning, for the first time in generations, the villagers saw the impossible bloom. Led by Don Ramiro, the rich and proud farmer, the people ran to Matthew's field. Some believed Matthew had gone insane. Others thought desperation had made him hallucinate. But when they arrived, they went silent. In front of them was an impossible sight. The land everyone called the Land of Shadows now shined under the sun. Where there used to be dust and salt, a bright spring flowed like a river of diamonds. The water curled through the soil like a living blessing. And wherever it touched, fresh grass, wildflowers, and young wheat appeared, almost as if the earth itself was bowing in gratitude. In minutes, the desert became a garden, a paradise born from faith and sacrifice. Don Ramiro stared, eyes wide, unable to believe it. The villagers whispered in fear and wonder, realizing they were witnessing something divine. Matthew fell to his knees again and whispered to the sky, "It wasn't my strength, Lord. It was your mercy." He drank from the spring, and the moment the water touched his lips, peace flooded his body, washing away every ounce of sadness and exhaustion. Then someone came running. It was Lucia. Her face was wet with tears, eyes shining. She saw Matthew kneeling by the spring and collapsed beside him, hugging him tightly. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. They knew this miracle wasn't just a reward. It was an answer to every prayer whispered at night, every strike of the hoe, every tear planted like hope. But Don Ramiro watched with a face hardened by envy and confusion. How could this be? How did this poor, stubborn farmer receive such blessing? How could dead land produce a miracle? His heart began to rot with greed. "It's not fair," he muttered. "That water shouldn't belong only to him. That land is communal, so the water should be ours too." The next day, Don Ramiro gathered several men and said, "Matthew has taken a blessed spring that should be for everyone. It's not right that he enjoys it while our lands dry out. We must take some of that water." They went to Matthew and asked permission to build canals to bring the water to their crops. Matthew, noble and generous, didn't hesitate. This is God's blessing. Blessings are not meant to be locked away. Take what you need. The villagers built the canals. The water flowed. But something mysterious happened. The moment the water crossed the borders of Matthew's land, it lost its glow. It still watered the soil, but without life, without power. Outside that place, the miracle became ordinary water. Meanwhile, Matthew's land kept transforming day by day. And soon, people from far villages came just to see with their own eyes how God could turn scarcity into abundance. The wheat grew tall and heavy. Fruit trees filled with sweetness so rich that tasting one felt like proof of heaven. Matthew's field became a paradise in the middle of drought, but the other fields remained dry. The water helped them survive, but it didn't carry the same power. Don Ramiro watched Matthew's prosperity with rage. He refused to believe the secret was Matthew's faith or Lucia's prayers. "Nonsense," he said. "The power is in the land. If I take some of that blessed soil, my fields will grow the same." One moonless night, driven by envy, Don Ramiro and his workers snuck into Matthew's land. They dug into the most fertile area. They stole sacks of that dark, living soil. They spread it over their own fields, dreaming they would wake up to golden wheat. But the next morning, Matthew arrived to find a giant hole where his crops had once flourished. He didn't cry over the stolen soil. He mourned the blindness of the heart that committed such a thing. He lifted his eyes to the sky and whispered calmly, "God is enough for me, and He protects His own. May He illuminate and heal the hearts poisoned by envy." Then he picked up his tool and went back to work, without hatred. Meanwhile, Don Ramiro woke up full of anticipation, but when he reached his field, his heart collapsed. The place where he had spread Matthew's soil had turned to ash. The crops withered, the ground cracked, a burnt smell covered everything. The blessing he tried to steal became a curse. He fell to his knees, covered in dust, screaming in helplessness. When Matthew heard, he didn't feel pride or revenge. He felt compassion. He filled a jar with the shining water from his spring and walked to Don Ramiro's ruined land. He found him crying among the dead crops. "Stand up, brother," Matthew said firmly but kindly. "The blessing is not in the soil or the water. It's in the heart that trusts and thanks God. You had good land, but your soul was dry. I had dead land, but a wife with a heart full of faith. You envied what I had and forgot to be grateful for what you already had." Then Matthew poured some of the shining water onto Don Ramiro's soil, and in front of everyone, a small green plant emerged, a symbol of forgiveness, of hope, of mercy that never dies. Don Ramiro cried real tears, asked for forgiveness, and changed his life. From that day forward, he worked with humility, learning from Matthew the value of patience and faith. God continued to bless Matthew and Lucia's land, and they shared their abundance with the entire village. And their story became an eternal lesson that work in the hands and faith in the heart are the true seeds of paradise on earth. My friend, I'm truly glad you made it to the end of this story. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories. And remember, there are more stories waiting for you on your screen. Thank you.